Hello and welcome to Montgomery County Community College. This is John Ricciutti, and my guest today is screenwriter Johnny Giordano. He is the author of a screenplay titled TIger Lil. Johnny, welcome.
John, thank you for having me.
Welcome to Montgomery County Community College.
I'm happy to be here.
I guess the first thing I should ask you before we get into that is a little bit about yourself. What is your history in the Philadelphia area?
Well, Philly, I feel, is a part of my culture, part of who I am, based on both parents being from South Philly. We're South Philly Italian Americans, and as I'm sure you know, John, it's a very specific type of culture, and that is one that has been carried through my childhood and into my adulthood, and I've been in and out of South Philly my entire life.
In looking at your bio, besides a screenwriter, you're also an actor. What was your discovery into acting?
I always had a great love for film, and I was intrigued, and the actors in specific films, like a lot of Scorsese film, one of which Robert De Niro is, one of my influences to this day. But I didn't know what I wanted to do or be a part of until after high school, and that's when I discovered acting. I tried my hand in it, and I went to South Philly, of all places, and studied with a lady by the name of Mary Ann Claro. She had her own talent agency and acting school. So, interesting enough, went back to my roots to learn acting, and the South Philly teachers there were telling me that I had a feel for it, and that just to get that positive feedback was enough. I was hooked, so I continued on from there.
So now you've written a screenplay, and the screenplay is about your aunt, Lillian Reis.
Lillian Reis.
So how is she your aunt? She's Jewish, you're Italian.
Yes, Lillian Reis was out of respect my aunt. My mother grew up in the same South Philly neighborhood as Lillian and her daughters.
What is your play specifically about?
A struggling single mother and burlesque dancer who found her true calling in a life of crime. And Lillian, she certainly did find a calling in the life of crime. She put together a crew of gangster, one of which was her boyfriend, and gangster pals, and she went and she successfully pulled off the largest home burglary heist in America's history, the Pottsville heist.
She was like a mob moll. Is that it? Or she was like a made woman? You have to be a Sicilian to be made. I know that.
Exactly. And
right.
You could never, in any mob, in any place in the world, be female and be a made female. However, she provided enough for the mob that if that could happen, she would be a made member of the crew. And that's kind of my take on this. Kind of my niche here with this film. It's if there ever could be an unofficial mob member that was a female, non-Italian. This is an example of someone who would have been. She provided more for that crew at that time than any other soldier.
What I would like to ask you, when I read through your screenplay, what was the most challenging thing about writing this screenplay?
The story itself has been something that I wanted to tell for a long time and didn't have the tools. After I graduated from Pace, I had taken advanced screen study. So the largest challenge I would imagine for me it was doing the story justice in a way that kept it concise and on the correct form, in the correct format, and in the most professional way that a screenwriter could do it. And there are very specific ways to write a screenplay as opposed to writing a novel.
I guess what I should have asked you first is what prompted you to write it?
Wow, just the story that I've been hearing my entire life. I've been hearing about this Wonder Woman, crime Wonder Woman, since I'm a kid. And it's been like stories around the table. It's been stories, like instead of ghost stories, we were holding a flashlight and telling Aunt Lillian stories. And she was something of a movie character in the story reel of my head.
For the sake of the audience, what did she physically look like?
She was described best, I think Robert Simone described her this way in his book, as the face of Eva Gardner with the body of Sophia Loren. She was a classic starlet. She had starlet good looks.
And you said Robert Simone, that was her lawyer.
Yes.
And he's the lawyer that actually won the case for her.
Correct.
Yes. And yes, it is in his book. What did you want the audience to come away with from this?
Well, the industry right now, John, is in a way where we're really highlighting women's strength. Not only is that the film industry, but that is the temperature of the country, as we all know. I think that the culture is a direct reflection from the film industry, and it has been since the beginning of film. In fact, from what I understand, Mussolini used film as propaganda to control his society after World War II. And I don't want to dive into that too deep. That's another conversation in itself. But I feel like how relevant is a story of a struggling female character who, in this screenplay, it's structured so she goes through all struggles, many of the women's struggles that exist today, very relevant. During this time in the 50s was civil rights movement. There was a lot of women's rights. It almost parallels a lot of the things that are happening today. And you see all of those issues that we can relate to today within the screenplay, and it's all based on truth. So,
how did Lillian get to be so powerful?
Her attractiveness went further than skin deep. She could look through you, make you laugh, and keep you wanting more. So that she was able to get regular customers at the Celebrity Room, which is where she danced burlesque. So not only was she a knockout on stage, but she would have drinks with these men afterwards, and they would continue to come back, and they would pay her envelopes of cash. They would pay her rent. They gave her cars, jewelry. It was ridiculous how much that she got from all of these coal moguls. One of the moguls gave her a tip about another coal mogul who was corrupt. He was hoarding cash from the IRS. He was avoiding, it was tax evasion. He had all of his cash in a safe in his basement. When she found out that little tip, she put together her crew, and they went in and they robbed him blind. So she took down a corrupt top, and we all know these corrupt top people who are greedy. So in Robin Hood fashion, she stole from the rich and gave to herself, but also gave to her own, the mob. And that made her one of the top earners, which made her very important to the mob, the main mob figure at that time in my story.
What I would like you to do is I would like you to look in the camera, and I would like you to thank Montgomery County Community College, as Robert De Niro would.
This camera?
Yeah.
Montgomery, you. This place is good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. John, you're good. You are good, and you are good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're good.
With Johnny Giordano, screenwriter, this is John Ricciutti at Montgomery County Community College, and I hope you found this interview informative and entertaining. And until next time, thank you.